So why did Allah tell us in the Quran about suspicion? It destroys trust. Just like fire destroys grass. But as long as suspicion remains a thought, its owner is not held to account for it. Oh, if you got suspicion in your head, you just make it remain a thought. That's between you and Allah. You had to act on it.
Or express it.
Or express it. You had to act on it. And it goes on to say, Islam despises suspicion from another point of view. Also, slander, backbiting, and gossip can only take root and grow if suspicion is present. That's destroy a community. This is why Allah Ta'ala, He's addressed us in the Prophet in His saying for us not to be suspicious. You cannot build anything. If I'm suspicious of you, you suspicious of me, it destroys the trust. Because you have those elements that will come in, even like you said, if you're at workplace, it'll come in and cause rumor, start having suspicion. And a lot of people lose their job behind that stuff. A lot of people lose their family. It's in order to help prevent suspicion from developing. The Prophet ﷺ said, when there are three persons, two should not converse secretly between themselves to the exclusion of the third one. Or if we three together and me and the brother walk off, we go to talking, in your mind, you say, what are they talking about? You might get suspicious. The problem is why? He said, wait a minute. He said, no, we're going to have a project. Neither of you should be in the conversation. But he won't feel suspicion. But if it's everybody around and me and him walk off, we can talk. Because you're not thinking that we are being, saying something about you. Even just the thought of it, you won't even have that thought. I got a question I'm going to ask, but let me read this I gave him. The Prophet ﷺ went on to say, do not be inquisitive about one another, probing, trying to find something that might be a flaw that you're looking for. You start being suspicious about. He went on to say, nor spy on each other. Do not feel envy. See, all that brings on suspicion when you envy your brother. You see. Dislike. Hatred or hostility toward each other. See, all that brings on that suspicion. So this is one of the things that curtails suspicion. In the Prophet's statement described, he said, okay, let me finish. Dislike, hatred, or hostility toward each other. He went on to say, instead, be brothers and servant of Allah together. Be brother, sisters, and servant of Allah together. This remaining part of the hadith, the Prophet's statement described many of the bad effects of suspicion on the Islamic brotherhood or the sisterhood. So the Prophet ending by calling us to be brothers and sisters of faith and faith. So the question is that I'm going to ask before we close. What are some of the effects of suspicion? Several we've been talking about suspicion. Go ahead, sir.
Oh, you can consume your time, and waste your time because you're trying to, well, if you have like a personal vendetta against something or something that's happening, and you can waste your time trying to prove, your suspicions. But yeah, you're just wasting your time.
Yes, sir.
It's not like suspicion. Suspicion can cause trouble. Like it fights. It can cause two people to, especially if it's suspicion about something that's not true. It can be all the way to somebody. It can be even death. Right. It can go too far. For you just being like that, just a person. And it don't really take but one person to have that type of attitude, and he or she can get into a good environment, tear it up with that type of suspicious type of attitude with that on his heart. It's just not good.
That's right. It's a disease.
Yeah, it's like a disease. That's why I say you can get into that one of those people can get into a good environment and tear it up with that type of attitude and thoughts.
That's right. It'll run through Islamic community. That is the most danger of it. You see, it's danger, like you say, everywhere. But it can become a disease on an individual heart, on a community, and also on a nation. Whole nation could be destroyed. And we see it happening now in the Muslim world. A lot of that stuff is the work of Shaitan. Anybody else?
Just going back off of like what he said, suspicion, sin being like a disease, and it can spread just like a cough can spread, because that's what diseases do. They spread over time. Lost my train of thought. Lost my train of thought. If it comes back, I'll say what I had to say.
Well, I think that knowledge is the key. If community collectively as a whole is open, about any particular particular thing or subject matter or people, if they are open, not being in secret, not doing things secretly, I think that would sort of eliminate, suspicions. I mean, be as open as a book.
That's right.
I mean, be very comfortable around your brother, or sister. I mean, just be very, comfortable. Because when things are done in secret, what else? I mean, we're not immune at all in being human beings from suspicion, backbiting. I know none of us can say right now that we haven't, backbite or talk about somebody, in a negative manner when you really don't even know the truth. It's just that, how you control that situation. And one thing you brought out by, just allow it to just be a thought.
Right.
But, if you have something on your mind, then confront the brother or the sister. Don't just say, well, this might offend him if I come to him or her with this particular question here. He's going to start having suspicion. Why I'm asking the question? I mean, so knowledge and then being open, because Islam is an open religion. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was an open person. I mean, he didn't care how significant or how insignificant or how important the subject was. If someone wanted to know, about any little thing, how you wash, how you go to the bathroom, how you have sex with your wife, he was an open book. He was the leader, right? I know that we all, have a little personal situation among our families and stuff, but if we look at that particular example, I mean, especially when it's affecting the people as a whole, so that's one of the things I think that could curtail, the natural thing that Allah has really put in us. I mean, it alerts us. You got to have a mechanism where you say, well, here come a brother coming in the community. We don't know nothing about him, right? Mm-hmm. He stays in for maybe a month or so, and he's put in a position, and he steals his blind. I mean, even in the Quran, it said check things out first, right? Mm-hmm. That's not necessarily a bad suspicion or assumption, but these emotions that we're speaking of, these things that we're speaking of, is to ascertain. It's not, the lack of knowledge or information is not available, and that's why sometimes we go into these, backbiting and slandering and stuff like that, because we don't know. Right. I think Mikhail has said, so well, how can you be suspected of someone when you don't have any interaction at all, right? And then if you try to have interaction, there's a stoic kind of, feeling.
But let me say, that's why it's good to be a relationship. Right. Because, see, suspicion is different from someone, like you use the example, I can make it clear, people can have the knowledge too. Right. Then people that come in, if somebody come in the community, because you come in and say, Assalamu alaikum, brother, you ain't suspicious of him. That's be a sin. Mm-hmm. He got to build his trust. You don't have suspicion of him coming in because you don't know nothing about it. What you do, you let him build his trust. He had to build trust among the believers for you allow him his work, his participation, his trust level, his trust. Mm-hmm. But if we come in, we don't see him as being suspicious because we don't know him. Mm-hmm. But
I'm talking about you having the suspicion because, like, for instance, like anybody assume a leadership position or something like that. Even a job, a simple job, you got to check the person out. I mean, he could have a criminal record, or could be a child molester, or something like that.
That's just being cautious.
Yeah, being cautious, right. Those words sort of like interchangeable at times, right? Yeah. And these are why these emotions. This is a very good topic here. Excellent topic. And there are a lot of other things that Allah speaks about backbiting and slandering. All these things come into play.
All that come out of suspicion.
Yes, right. All these things come into play. Suspicion. Yes. Right. Yes.
I had a question about, like, when you had said, he said that we're keeping it a thought, like, is it a difference between me just thinking that or me saying, whispering to Mikhail about it?
Right.
Yeah. He was talking about the actions earlier.
So with me thinking it, and with me thinking it on my own, keeping it to myself is what?
That's your step between you and Allah. Right. You're not accountable. Prophet said you're not accounted for it if you keep that to yourself. But what the danger comes, you bring the thought, and that thought start going around in one of the most dangerous and deceptive conversations, he said. In close, let's say this here. I'm going to quote this ayat in Surah Al-Hujurat 10. It says, certainly the believers are one brotherhood. So make peace between your two disagreeing brothers. Because this suspicion will bring all that kind of stuff out. The greatest dangers, this is where we're at now, the greatest dangers of suspicion is that it leads to the breaking up of friendships and community. That is the greatest danger of it. This is why we have to have an honest relationship with one another. Like you said, we can't be all standing back, holding back. No, we have to have an honest relationship. Not inquiring in nobody's personal life, but having an honest relationship on a community level. That's one of the greatest dangers of suspicion is that it leads to the breaking up of friendship, like you were saying earlier. People be suspicious, man, people kill you, right? So, man, you killed that man for that. You talking about that sister for that. And it said,